Hello everybody, it's Tammy B here again with exclusive and extremely transparent tips, tricks, and stories for wedding planners. After 20 years in the industry, I'm here to help you grow and sustain your wedding planning business from the inside out. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about tips and tricks for a successful wedding rehearsal. Want to learn a few tips? Stay tuned. Tammy B here again with tips and tricks for a successful wedding rehearsal. Okay, so a wedding rehearsal is vital to a successful wedding day. Good practice, good show, right? So the rehearsal is not only important for the couple and for their bridal party and family members to know where to stand, when to walk, who to walk with, when to turn. All those things are important, but one of the most important things that is going to happen at the wedding rehearsal is you're going to gain the trust of everyone who will be a part of the day on the wedding day. So at this point, you've probably worked with the couple, both parts of the couple, and you may have even worked with maybe a bridesmaid, groomsman, best man, or parent, right? And so maybe you have some relationship with some of the people who you're going to interact with there at rehearsal, but for the vast majority of the time, I found that I would say maybe 80% of the time, I didn't know anyone at rehearsal except for the couple and maybe some vendors that may have played a part in rehearsal as well. And so it's really important that you use rehearsal to be the expert, to show and prove, and to gain the trust of everyone who's going to be involved on the wedding day. Trust means they'll listen to you and that things will go smoothly. So I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks to make sure that you're seen as the expert, right? So before you do anything, before you book a client, before you book a couple, before you conduct any rehearsals, one of the things that I swear by is the original Emily Post Book of Etiquette. Not necessarily the new one, so you can get both. You can get a contemporary version for etiquette, but this one I believe was published in 1920. And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a new version ever, actually. I bought my version on Amazon actually, I think I got it on eBay. It was so long ago. This thing is broken up. It's a mess, but that's because I had to buy it used, and I've used it so much. This book is vital and important because it'll teach you the foundation and the basis of traditional etiquette. Rule of thumb, you have to know the rules before you can break the rules. And so you must absolutely know how to conduct all kinds of wedding rehearsals. And that book will teach you how to do it in the most traditional and straightforward way ever. Don't trust any of these new blogs. A lot of times that stuff is not traditional and appropriate and accurate etiquette. Get the Emily Post original book of etiquette. It's not just for weddings. It's literally like this thick, and it'll tell you about etiquette across the board. How to introduce people, how to address a letter, how to address doctors when the husband and wife are doctors. It tells you everything. But most importantly, it's going to give you the foundational knowledge that you need to be able to be the expert at rehearsal. So that's the first thing. If you haven't gotten that book, you need to get it. I'll put a link down. I'll try to find some used versions, and I'll put a link down in the description box. Okay. Tip number 2, know who's coming to rehearsal. So you should have spoken with the couple by this point and know and have an expectation of who's going to be present at rehearsal, and compare that when you get on site with the wedding program. So by this point, you should have not only seen the wedding program, but you have proofread it, you have gone over it, you know the flow and the order of ceremony, you know this thing top to bottom. And therefore, you want to be able to use it so that as people are coming in, you can address them by their names. and you can be fully aware of who's there and maybe who may be missing, because then you want to have the ability to have stand-ins for people who are missing, because that is a huge possibility. In many weddings, people are coming from all over the country, and that maybe their flights haven't gotten in at the time of rehearsal. You never know. Maybe people got stuck in traffic and you can't hold up rehearsal because the venue is giving you 1 hour. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you get 1 hour typically to run a rehearsal. Now, a good rehearsal, I learned to run a rehearsal in 20 minutes tops. I'll give you some more tips on that, but that's another video. But you want to have a full expectation of who's going to be there, who's not going to be there, and then how to fill in the gaps for the people who may or may not be there. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3. Because you've done tip number 1 and you know etiquette, because you've done tip number 2 and you know everyone who's there, by this point, you are the expert. It never fails that there's going to be someone, whether it's a bridesmaid, groomsman, grandma, auntie, someone there is going to potentially challenge your knowledge. So a lot of times, I'll give you an example. This is something that, this is how you show yourself as the expert. You become a teacher. And one of the things, hands down, I would say 90% of the time that I would have to become a teacher on is how to escort a bridesmaid down the aisle. So, of course, we know in a traditional sense, except for when you're going down the aisle, a bridesmaid or a woman is on a man's right arm, right? That's the appropriate way to escort a lady. However, one of the things that you want to say, and this is a really good tip, right? So a lot of times when you have a bridesmaid and a groomsman, or a man and a woman escorting each other, or being escorted down the aisle, whether it's a bridesmaid groomsman or grandma and grandpa or auntie, uncle, whomever it is, sometimes gentlemen don't know, and I'm gonna kind of sit up a little bit, but gentlemen, especially younger guys, a lot of times, unfortunately, they don't know how to have a strong arm. And so one of the things that I've always done is say, when you're holding a woman on your arm, you want to make sure that you have a strong arm and that your arm's not like dangling and she's kind of just holding on for dear life. Because the reason a man offers a woman his arm is for support. She's got on heels, she's got on a long dress 9 times out of 10, and if she so happens to take a tumble, if your arm is loosey-goosey, she's going to slide down your arm. Now, I've never seen that happen, probably because I always tell guys to have a really strong arm to offer the woman that they are escorting, but it's something that makes you look like you're thinking ahead. It's a tip that people don't think about. It's a nugget, it's a gem. And as many of those gems that you can drop during your rehearsal, again, you look like the expert and everyone trusts you. So when you say something, they say, yes, Tammy, I can do that. Or that's right, Tammy. And so that type of attitude and that type of energy and that type of trust is what will make your wedding day go a lot smoother. Just one more tip I'd like to offer is know forward and backward about processionals and recessionals. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'm going to ask you to go and Google it, look it up, drop it in the comments, and maybe we can have some additional discussion about it. But recessional and processional, make sure that you know and understand etiquette about that backward and forward, because in 2020, a lot of people don't want a traditional processional. And so you creating another space for looking like the expert, even if your couple wants to do something different or more contemporary or non-traditional, the fact that you can voice and educate the bridal party and the family on how things should be done makes you, again, look like the expert. And so those are just a few tips and tricks as it relates to the actual function and the actual execution of a rehearsal. The last tip I'm going to give you is about preparation for the next day. Never, ever, ever, ever allow a couple to bring you what you need for the wedding day on the wedding day. Specifically, always have what I used to call a list of things to bring to rehearsal. That item, that checklist should be given to your client however many days in advance, because lo and behold, there's going to be some things that they need to bring you. Are they jumping the broom? Do they need to bring you the Mazel Tov glass? Do they need to bring you the unity candle, the flower girl basket, the ring bearer pillow, the programs, the table numbers for the reception? All of those things should be in your hand, double checked, triple checked that you have it. The marriage license, get that at rehearsal, right? Because these are things that a bride, groom, couple, auntie, mama, they will forget them on the wedding day. And guess who's left holding the responsibility to try to figure out on the wedding day how to obtain these things? And so what I suggest you do is get all that stuff at rehearsal, go down that checklist, have your assistant do the checklist while you're running rehearsal, so that on the day of the wedding, you have everything you need. You can keep it in your car. You can keep it in your garage. I used to, like, once it's in my car, I would park my car in my garage and just leave it, because the more you move it, the more chances are that you'll forget something or that you'll leave something. I have a story about that. Maybe I'll tell that story about about the lost wedding, the lost marriage license. But guess what? The bride and groom never knew that we lost it. So, but the point is that you get all those things on rehearsal day, so that when you show up on wedding day, you have everything you need to fully execute that wedding day without calling the couple and saying, hey, what's the status of your unity candle? Is your aunt bringing it? What time is she coming? Oh, she's late because her hair appointment didn't. And now you're stuck not being able to set up the unity candle because auntie didn't bring it when she said she was going to on the day of, right? And of course, you want to have everything that you need for the wedding day, because if the wedding starts at 1 o'clock, the guests are showing up at 12:30. Everything should be ready to go at 12, no later than 12:15. So getting all that stuff and double checking it at rehearsal is a surefire way to make sure that everything that you need to function on the wedding day is in your possession and therefore in your control. I hope that these tips and tricks were helpful for you as it relates to running a rehearsal. Those are just a few things, but if you have any additional questions or you like what you heard, please like this video and subscribe. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. Thanks, you guys, and see you next time.